Guava Jam?
Yeah, let's try it.
Sometimes I wish I was tone deaf.
Me too.
No, it's not right.
Especially when the tuner says it's in tune, but it's...
You know it's wrong.
Yeah. That was fun.
Okay, good night. Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Man,
Got my blood
that
pumping.
guava was sweet.
Good fun, man.
That was awesome.
I don't know why I always... I think to myself, about 3/4 of the way through an arrangement, I'm like, I did this to myself.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
I could have just played it down here, and that was totally an option. No.
I love the arrangement.
Thanks, man.
It wouldn't be the same if you didn't do that.
Well,
put a lot of soul into that.
Thanks, man. A lot of fun. Well, yeah.
Before we get into learning more about you, and I'm sure a lot of people listening already know about you, talk about this guitar because it sounds ridiculously huge.
Yeah, so this is a Australian maker, Paul Sheridan, and so it's sort of in the Australian lattice bracing, I guess, style of guitar. And I don't really know much about guitars, but that's what I do know about this one. The back is Indian rosewood, back and sides, and cedar, very thin. So you can just kind of hear almost how thin it is if I rub like up here compared to rubbing down here.
Yeah.
You can even hear how thin it is. I don't even need to tap it.
A lot of times with lattice brace ones, you can put a bright light on it and even see the braces through. You know, it's built that way. But how old?
2010, I believe. Yeah,
wow.
So
Nice.
11 years now. Yeah, 10.
You've given that one a lot of love.
Yeah, and what was it? Tasmanian oak neck, ebony fretboard.
What is something like that?
640 scale also, so it's just a little bit smaller, but it's still just as loud. And the great thing about that is it's very playable. It's made for sort of acrobatics. It can handle like really loud punches. It can, really scream. Yeah, no, it's almost like kind of too loud. It's like, oh, that acoustic guitar is too loud. Like
For me, it's like, no, I want more.
most people, right?
Just
It's
give
like
me
acoustic
more.
guitar is it can.
Well, it gives you the control. If you have that dynamic range, you can decide when you.
Exactly. Yeah, which is like the great thing about like piano, right? It has this huge range, and usually, so the guitar basically does a really great, and the ukulele, it does a really great pianissimo. It does a really great quiet.
Nice.
Like it's really good at that, And but to have the range, right? To have
Right.
that upper register is nice. Yeah. So this guitar, basically, I think Sheridan. The story is that I heard. I'm not totally sure, but was sort of an apprentice with this guy Greg Smallman, and Smallman makes these $25,000 guitars that are still just world class, amazing. But Sheridan kind of went off and did his own, after a while, and made his own brand and sort of designed, tweaked it, and things. And this is just it's still a $9,000 guitar. I mean, it's not a cheap guitar by any means, but it's at least it was more attainable for me.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just I've played it next to the $25,000, $20,000 guitars, and I think it's just as great.
Is that the favorite one that you own?
Oh yeah,
out of
for
your
sure. Yeah,
collection?
this is my
Yeah.
go-to.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of, if not the most incredible sounding classicals I've heard.
It has such a. Let me just do some fine tuning here. It has a unique voice. It almost sounds plasticky sometimes, or like digital.
I hear that in lattice brace instruments sometimes, in a way, but
I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's almost like, yeah.
yeah, there's something maybe a little bit less woody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't mind that actually because, it's I'm not like so beholden to that tone necessarily. What I like about it is the fact that I can make a sound like. Just on one note, it's even very minute changes. The guitar is very reactive.
Wow.
If I just turn the nail, right, play on the inside of the nail versus playing on the outside of the nail.
Really
Or
hear the
back
difference.
here and play on the inside of the nail or the outside. So it's like I get like a bright sound, or a bright or a warm or a right layers of sound. This is just, the guitar is just so it's just really alive, and it reacts to every little detail, which is why I have like sandpaper and things, and I'll really keep my nails I try to at least try to keep them.
It's really
good
hard
shape.
to keep.
Yeah,
them
it's hard to
nice.
keep them though.
Did it kind of like inspire more experimentation after you got it because of the kind of palette or range?
Well, totally, and that's one of the reasons that as an artist, every good artist should get a good instrument. That's just a fact, because you need an instrument that can respond to what you're putting in, and as you learn, as your musical abilities grow, everybody, as you get a new strumming technique, you're able to play faster, etc. You're naturally going to start going higher up on the neck. You're demanding more of the instrument. You're demanding that it play more in tune, that it sustain, that it do all these things that start revealing themselves in more complex music. That's when the high-end instruments really show their strengths. Not so much, chilling-a-lang, which is, totally cool.
Nothing
totally
wrong
cool,
with
nothing
that,
wrong with that. But that's where you can hear the difference. That's just the difference between, you know, a Ferrari and a Corolla. You know?
But even without being
Basically,
like,
I mean,
Yeah.
I tell our customers that sometimes in the store.
Yeah.
You got to put it in a perspective that people can understand.
Yeah.
You know.
but like, even if you can only play like really simple, I mean, not chalenga-lenga maybe, but even like playing that one note or playing a few chords, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
having something like that's inspiring.
Oh yeah, a good sound. There's
Yeah.
nothing like, you know, exactly. You know, there's nothing like getting behind. It's like a new set of strings. It's like, oh yeah, woo, we can just keep playing. You know, you just want to keep playing because it's just like sounds great. I should have changed these, but then I got so close that I didn't. Anyways, never mind. so
No.
you know, there's that window. You're like, ooh, I got 24 hours. I can still.
It's okay. It would have sounded too good.
And then,
We don't want to shame all the other.
But
guitars
yeah,
in the world.
no, I mean, there's definitely something about having a quality instrument, you know, to inspire you. You know, that's actually why, even up at school, you know, when I teach, we have the cheaper instruments for them to bang around on, right? And then we take out the nicer instruments so that they can have a chance to once they get a hold of, you know, what good technique is, and they can strum without scraping the front, you know, then they can get the, you know, the old Kamakas and things like that we can
Yeah.
take out. And
So you're still teaching at Cam schools, right? Kamehameha?
yep, totally.
And talk about that. Is it just general music, or what grades are you teaching? And
9 through 12, ukulele and guitar. Yep,
Oh wow.
yep, class. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. There's a lot of great young talent that goes through there. You know, that's one of the. I mean, that's
It's an elective they choose, or
they have to have a performing arts credit, and so a lot of students elect for ukulele. You know, for that elective, for that credit, or guitar. You know, if they're interested, they can, you know, take that too for the credit.
That's good.
But yeah, every Kamehameha student needs a performing arts credit of some sort.
and then they bring their own instrument if they have, and you guys provide if not, or
Yep.
how is it?
Yep. Yeah, I'm okay with them bringing their own, because there's definitely, as you know, nothing like playing your own instrument. You know, I mean, there, you know, you can be. I have no problem picking up other guitars and playing, you know, but it may just not be, you know, you just don't know the ins and outs and every little subtlety, and you know.
Yeah, it's not the same.
You know, just on that F sharp, you got to back off just a little bit. You know, things like that. It's
Yeah.
just you start to, you know, your guitar, right? And there's nothing. So yeah, I'm cool with them bringing their own instrument, of course. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So how much like kids are actually in the class?
I have
From
20.
20
Yeah,
per class.
20 in a class. And
Nice.
yeah, so we've got, you know, I think like 40 guitars set up. I've got 40 ukuleles, you know, 2 closets of 20. And so that they can choose, you know, like so one day they can try a nylon string guitar. The next class they can try a steel string
wow.
guitar.
Right
Next
on.
class they could try a 3/4 size nylon, you know, if they're having trouble with the stretches, you know, and or a 3/4 size steel. You know,
How
different-
hard is it to get everybody to be in tune together? First of all,
Well, I do a lot of the tuning for
Okay.
to start, right? And I just try to tell them not to mess with it, and I'll teach them sort of. I'll go around the room and I'll change one string, you know, on everybody's guitar. I'll flatten it, you know, on everybody, and I let everybody know, okay, I've lowered your string, you know, and you know you're gonna fix that one string, and that's kind of like one of the first assignments. One of the first tuning assignments is just. You know, I don't. Not all 6 strings. Good luck, right? It's just or all 4.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
I start with one string. Just you know, we got my dog has please.
right.
What should it be? Right, and then so bring it up until it sounds there, right? And you have to listen, remember, compare, right? And then I go over teaching them how to tune. There's
So
certain
that's
processes
without a
for
tuner
that.
on there.
Yeah, so I teach them. I try to teach them to tune by ear, and then we use the tuner as well, because the tuner is only so smart, right? So you kind of have to know that you're in the ballpark, because if you go past it, it'll start. Then students will go like to the next E or something, or down to
Yeah.
the next octave, right? And then it's like way out of whack. But they're trying, right? But they don't know, but so they're not listening. So
Right.
like the first thing is to really teach them at least the concept of how to tune by ear, you know, and maybe they don't perfect that, but at least it, and then we go into using the tuners a little bit more. Yeah.
That's good. Start them off with ear training from the
Yeah.
start, because that's what's going to be one of the most useful things they'll learn in the music, is trusting this.
Yeah, listen.
You know?
Number
just
one.
listen.
And in life, right?
Yeah,
as,
yeah,
as a student
exactly.
in their other classes, you know, at home, as a
Yeah.
son, as a parent, as a friend, listening.
life skills.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
anyways, playing with everybody, playing along. Right?
There's a real like art to inspiring kids with something like this, you know? I guess like do you think this is something that you were naturally gifted at teach? I mean, obviously you're a monster player, but I've known a lot of great players that weren't gifted teachers, and I've heard people tell me what a amazing teacher you are. You know, I mean, so how did you get there? Is that something innate or?
I've had really great teachers.
Yeah.
That's, I think, all I can say. I've had just amazing luck, amazing role models. Byron Yasui, just one of the most modest monsters you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Just so nice and friendly, right? And so brilliant, and dedicated without a hesitation to the art, right? That's Byron, you know, as a role model. So as an example, right? It's like you just do it and you live it. And another one of my teachers is Jeff Peterson, who I remember my first lesson, you know, or I took class with him, and he came back and said, like, hey man, you should think about majoring in music. You know, you really can sounds good, man. You know, and so I we had a conversation with my parents. That was fun. Anyways, moving on. And then I changed majors to music, and I remember taking my first lesson with Jeff, and he said, you know, man, you got to be versatile. You know, if you're gonna major in music, right? I know this is a classical guitar major that we're doing here, but you know, as we know, like Jeff Peterson is a great classical, but he's also a great slack key player, right? And jazz musician and rock. You know, you should see him shred like Satriani stuff. Like actually, no, really, you'd never guess. And then all of this slack key guys just. Anyways, it's great. So it's very inspiring, right? And so I had a very inspiring teacher there. He pointed me in the direction of Benjamin Verdery, who is the professor at Yale University, and he is hands down the color king. You know, meaning like, is it, you know, or. I mean, he just the way he moves around and chooses to shade his performances, like, and so is just so
that's both
electrifying.
Tones and dynamics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as a performer, like, he'll just he's a classical guitarist. Like, you know, you would, you know, maybe if you don't know what classical guitar is, right? But like this, he walks out and he's wearing like this crazy aloha shirt and barefoot, and then, you know, and sits down and plays like, you know, plays like a Jimi Hendrix thing, and you're just like, what? And then he goes into Bach, and then he goes into a Prince arrangement, and then he plays Mozart, and then he goes and then he plays a harpsichord arrangement that he made, like this obscure 17th century French composer, you know, and you're like, what?
Well, I don't hear great classical guitar players as being stiff at all. I mean, like,
well, you're a music. Anyways, I'm just maybe saying.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe some people think it that way.
Yeah.
I've gotten the, you know, great reward of recording Pepe Senior like 4 or 5 times now, you know, and it's just like, to me, like, the guy's a rock star, you know?
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a connection there. Is my one of my most influential teachers, I should have mentioned earlier, is Lisa Smith, and Lisa Salkiver, and she studied with Pepe. And so after my undergrad at UH, you know, I had always heard about her, and she had sort of stepped away from teaching for, you know, different reasons, and I, you know, was able to get a hold of her and took lessons with her for a year before I went off to my master's program, and where I studied with Ben. And she made me, having played with fingernails all through my undergrad, right, 6 years, took me too long, never mind, long story, moving on. I cut off my fingernails, and you know, she had me quit drinking coffee. I had lessons with her every Sunday morning. It was like church, like with her, and it was, I would play one note, and then she'd be like, Ian, you need to put away your guitar. I'm going to make you some tea. We're going to talk about that.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, no. And it was great. It was so...
Psychologist / guitar teacher.
So inspiring, and I always have such a reverence for the art of music now, you know, because of her, and for my technique and playing and sound and touching the strings, and if I hear some kind of some sort of insight from somebody, it's very meaningful, and it's we're very lucky to be able to do that, and she made that very clear. And so I've had very inspiring, very energetic, knowledgeable, thoughtful, caring teachers. That's all I've been surrounded with. That's all I've known. So I just try to really do the same. And that's...
Let's go back. So you were at UH for 6 years? Is that what you were saying?
Well, my undergrad, I started as a marine science major. So I played reggae and a little bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan from watching the VHS. That's as old as I am. Anyways, and
I'm older than you.
Yeah, and I played some reggae music and stuff on acoustic and rock, and Nothing Else Matters and things, and all the typical high school fare, but I didn't really read music at all, and so I had to do remedial music courses for a year before I even got into the guitar program. I had to start with 231G, which is like remedial classical guitar. So because I didn't even know, I thought Eric Clapton was a classical guitarist, because he plays nylon string on Tears in Heaven, right? So I thought that's classical guitar, right? So for my classical guitar audition, I showed up playing Tears in Heaven, that I figured out from a cassette tape.
No.
You know what I mean? That was the way it was.
Hey, you figured it out from a cassette tape.
I know.
But right? So, but they don't give you credit for that. You can't write that down.
It's not a classical piece.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's not really. And so I remember I auditioned for Byron, and he kind of was like, I was like, yeah, who wrote that? I was like, Eric Clapton. He was like, who?
That's so classic.
I love, but then as over the years, I'm like, of course Byron doesn't know who he is. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
But he's so pure and he's so real and he's so good. And
when I got to record him and Benny, it was so funny because Benny kept for none of them, Byron refused to do second takes. He's like, no. I mean, but it's funny because it's like there's no ego involved. It's like we're going for it, we're doing it. It is what it is. If there's smudges here and there, it's like part of
whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, that guy is so classic.
Yeah, and then and Benny too. I actually got to study. I did a couple years master apprenticeship through the State Foundation with Benny Chung, and got to try to understand his magic, of chord melody.
Yeah.
And that was great. That was a really lucky experience.
He does chord soloing.
Yeah. No, it's unreal, unreal. And so all I could really do, with that, it wasn't that I'm gonna, the point of the apprenticeship really was just to sort of, I think, understand some of his lens, the method and how he makes his choices and things, and so now I can see what he's playing, and so I'm still can't break my fingers in half in the way he does, but it's definitely influenced my arranging on ukulele and things lately, and being able to harmonize, being able to voice an entire melody in chords, right? Just
because his approach is unique.
Yeah,
very unique, and it's really hard to grasp.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, he's playing a baritone, so it just kind of throws off, a lot of ukulele players, right?
Because he still has those extra notes that you can access,
Right, he has this whole other lower range. Anyway, and then on top of the, that, whatever that.
Oh yeah.
That
the shaka
is,
chord? That's what I call it.
Yeah. Shaka brother no can.
Only he can.
Yeah. Is illegal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Illegal chords.
Yeah. So how did you get into Yale? How did that happen?
That was years of going to Maui, and Ben Verdery does this master class every summer. The last couple of years, of course, have been digital, right, online, but it's always been in Kihei, and we'll go down to a church down Makawao, or not Makawao. Sorry, we'll do an end concert there. But what is it? Makena. There's a old Hawaiian church down there that we'll go to, and do classes. And it's 10 days of classical guitar, basically, and that was one of my first immersion experiences in the classical guitar world. So 10 days of there's maybe 20 students, half an hour lessons, starting from 9 a.m. all the way to 3 p.m. With like a lunch break. And then in the afternoon from like 3:30 to 5, we would do an ensemble rehearsal that everybody in the class plays together. And then at the very end of the 10 days, we do a...
It's gunshots.
What?
It's gunshots, I think.
Nah, it's probably
Is
just
it fireworks?
fireworks.
Oh, that's fireworks. Sorry. Sorry to stop everyone. My bad. I was like, what? What's going on?
But
It's just wahi-wa. It doesn't need to be for life work or anything.
Okay.
So where was I? So
Yeah, so you guys did you went and did that kind of course or clinic with him over there?
for years, and so basically it was like the first year I went, there's kids there from 12 to adults who are hobby guitarists, and a lot of college students who are maybe wanting to go to Yale and study with him. So they're finishing their undergrad, and then they come out to this summer class and then study with him for those 10 days to see if Yale is going to be a good fit for them. So I got to meet these college age kids, who are a bit older than me, maybe a few years, but just ripping, and maybe some of these kids who are 10 and 12, but also just ripping. And, you know what I mean? I'm just surrounded, and I'm kind of like, I'm trying to play these like. I made it, and that's like because I'm just starting out with this classical guitar thing and playing really kind of simple music. And then so I saw what was happening. I was like, oh, okay, I got to pick it up. Anyways, went home after that year. And every year I went home, basically. So I went for 6 years or 7 years to this Maui workshop with Ben before I auditioned over my entire undergrad, basically, right? And I took a year actually between graduating from undergrad and going to Yale also. So I gave myself enough time to sort of, right, because I didn't read music, because I had no idea about this entire world and language of classical guitar. I had a lot of catch up to do. And so...
you weren't one of those 12-year-olds part of this course.
Yeah, but I did play from when I was very small, right?
Right.
I played ukulele, and I played, Wipeout behind my head in elementary school, and like my parents saw me do that, and they were like, right, and then my parents were like, oh, you don't need ukulele lessons anymore, and I was like, ah. But they didn't mean, but it was just, it was Mokuleia in 1990. There's not, everything is far. It's still far.
Fair enough.
But for different reasons, I never really ended up taking lessons, but they always supported my music, as a hobby, and I had a rock band in high school I played with every weekend. My dad would drive me to town and stuff. But anyway, so there I am on Maui, and every year I would go back and I would make a little list, right? So Ben would say, Ian, you need to play this song, you need to play these scales, you need to fix your right hand nails and shape them more like this, and you need to practice sitting up straight, right? And then I would go back the next year and make sure, okay, when I play from sit up straight, my nails are I play that scale, and da-da-da. And then the next year, same thing. And every year I would do that. He'd say, okay, practice your left hand, you need to work on this, pull off, making it really clean, pulling down into the fretboard, not off the guitar, which is, just, there's logic to that. Of course you can do a pull off, like that, or up, and that's fine, right? But there's a reason that he wanted me to do it like that, and now... I totally appreciate that. It took me a while to change that habit because I had played again for years, but without any, guidance. And so Jeff was my teacher for a couple years at UH. In the summers, I would study with Ben. Darren Au, the teacher from Punahou, was another teacher of mine for a couple years. John Wade, another guitarist who is now living in Korea, was my teacher for a year. But I always supplemented with going to Maui and studying with Ben. And so after, 7 years, I remember taking a ride, down to the beach. And Ben was like, so, Ian, I know that you're, going to be graduating, soon, someday, right? How long is this undergrad taking? No, anyways, something like that. And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, well, have you thought about, the audition, And honestly, you know, it was funny because like the first 3 years I went to this workshop, I thought I would go home and I'd be like, oh, I went to this great workshop with this guy from Harvard, you know, or something,
Yeah.
Princeton. I don't know. He teaches at something like that. And then as it got, you know, maybe 3 or 4 years in, you know, I started actually thinking about like maybe I could get a master's degree, you know, and I anyways, and then I figured out that it was Yale, and I
It just seems so prestigious that I mean, like I don't know.
right? No, it seemed so unreal. It was unattainable. It was this thing that was just like so out of the blue and so random in a way. Like when it happened, even when I got there, I was like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a minute ago, I was just catching the bus from Ukulele to go to Kamehameha schools. Like, didn't know that. I thought Eric Clapton was a classical guitarist, and 5 years later, or like 7 years later from then, I'm standing there at Yale, you know, on a full tuition scholarship, like pinching myself, thinking like,
Wow,
how did
full
this
tuition.
even happen? Well, I mean, anybody who goes to Yale is free. That's the deal for music. They got a generous donor, gave like $500 million to the school, but the only condition was that you make it free for the students. You know, if they were to accept the money, yeah. So of course they were like,
That's
"Yep,
great.
sure." And now what they're trying to do is make it free and for in perpetuity, right? They're trying to figure out how to make that money work. So they have about 200 students in the program. I mean, it's $75,000 a year or something. I think was at least when I was there. That was 10 years ago. So I don't know what it is
I
now.
wonder how many people try to get in though.
It's pretty darn competitive. I mean, just the fact that it's Yale alone, I think, actually keeps some people from even right or auditioning. And then just to even when you read the audition process, it's just like what? Because you have to you mail in your video or audio recording, and your transcripts, and then they accept you into a second round, which is the live audition, right? And then at that live audition, you play a set piece. So it's like you can pick some kind of Bach or some kind of classical or contemporary or something of your choice. But then everybody who's auditioning in that second round, so they'll narrow it down from say 60 applicants in the first round, right? Just apply for 1 year. They narrow it down to 10 students, and then they invite those 10 to the campus. And they ask every year they write a new composition for the audition. So they write all the notes. They ask one of the faculty or one of the master student composers to write a new piece. And the thing is, the piece of music doesn't have any tempo marking. It doesn't have any fingering, so it doesn't tell you first note, second note. It doesn't tell you how to tune your guitar. It doesn't tell you there's no title. You don't know who composed it.
Wow.
And so you just get this piece of music, and then you're supposed to play it, right? And so what that does is it's, hey, what are you going to do? What do you do? What's your thing? How are you going to interpret this? Is it or is it
But it,
right?
it doesn't
Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
But it doesn't give you the time signature, or I mean, not the BPM, or
No.
I mean, oh, okay.
No
okay.
tempo. Yeah,
Oh, I see.
it doesn't tell you how fast. So it's totally open, right?
Right.
Are you? How do you interpret that? And so is it? Or is Is it?
Right.
Mm.
I like that.
You
That's a wonderful way to do that.
So then you really get to see what these people are about, right? So when you're auditioning, it's like, okay, and out of the in that second round, I was the only one to memorize that piece.
Wow.
You had from the time that they invite you to a live audition is like 6 weeks, and you get the new piece of music in the mail like a week later. They allowed me to send a DVD of my playing rather than fly all the way out there to New York because Ben knew my playing so much. And it was a very competitive year. But what made it was I made sure that the camera was far enough back that you could tell that I memorized it, right? And
Like no cuts?
no cuts. Yeah, no cuts. There's clearly no music around. Eyes closed a lot of the time, right? And then I also, because of that, also I had to make sure it got there in time for the live audition. So I had to mail it 2 weeks before the live audition. Right? So I got it in the mail and I memorized it in the first week. And then I practiced it for like 2 weeks like crazy, and then I put it in the mail. Something like that.
Have you always been really disciplined about things like that? I guess so. You got into Yale.
Certain things. Well, certain things are, there's really, you don't think about it, right? Some things in this life, like you kind of just do it, like it's your thing, right? You're into that, and so like that was for a long time. That was just really my mission. Now I have a son, and that's everything I hear is like, how's that going to affect my son? Anyways, and so it's
But the passion is not waning after you have children. I
oh
mean,
no, yeah, and if anything, I just feel more inspired to arrange, and it's not just because I need to, I'm not just fulfilling a desire to play music because it's fun and a great gift, right? But it's also something that's going to hopefully inspire my son and be around, for him to grow up with music, for him to at least I can.
Well, I contacted you to come on here because I was really enjoying your last album. I'm like, this is awesome.
Right on. Yeah.
So I think it's, what is it, Songs for My Son or something?
Songs for My Son. Yeah.
Yes, and you guys can check that out, iTunes or wherever,
iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah.
All those. Yeah.
And when you have a baby, those are the kind of songs that, like, I mean, I could only wish to be playing like you to my
yeah. Well, I
kid,
mean, that was, I thought, I have this gift of that I've been able to, right? Because, growing up in Mokuleia, music was like a ninjutsu art form, right? And so if somebody knew something about music, it was like, oh my God, like, that shape, that's a cool shape. How did you do that, right? And so like, you just, it's seared in your memory. There was no smartphones. There was no YouTube. There was no streaming.
There's the library.
You might go, growing up, you might go 3 months without hearing the song you like. You know, it was not it wasn't uncommon to be like, well, that's the last time I'm going to hear that song for who knows when.
Like you'd wait, you would listen to the radio for hours just for your favorite song to come on,
Yeah, and then maybe have the cassette tape in there so that you could get like a part of it, and then
just keep rewinding, and before you know it, the tape gets warped because you used it too much.
Yeah, well, if you're trying to figure out how to play it, right, you can always tell where the hard parts.
Did you guys have like 4-track recording cassette recorders too that you started to record yourself with? Did you do that?
No, I didn't.
I remember having those like early on.
Yeah, those are cool.
That was so fun. You get to start collaborating with yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways,
that's cool. Wow.
So, talk about the recording process of Songs for My Son.
Oh, I recorded that in our house actually, and my wife was so great because I would like, okay, I'm gonna do a take, and she would take our dogs into the bedroom, and we were living in this really like maybe almost 300 square foot apartment, so like.
Wow, that's tight.
Yeah, and so we got 2 little Chihuahuas like that love to bark at anything, and so it was, I had to like, time it like, okay, feed the dogs and like get them all settled down, and then, and then my recording could be, and it was too windy during the day to record, because you can hear it, and so then I had to wait until it was a nice non-windy night.
Right.
It's like
what a tightrope.
Right, and then so that was really fun, and it was. It
all gets perfect, and then you hit a bad note.
Yeah, and so then I had to learn how to do some editing, which was great. So I did, just some little tweaks. Nothing too major. Like it was, basically I try to go for clean one time.
It sounds like pretty good mics, though.
Yeah, so I got 2 KM 180.
Oh, the Neumann.
Yeah, the Neumann. Yeah, and just put those on a couple stands, and then go through a Apogee Duet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and GarageBand.
Yeah, Zach has that, and I was surprised. I was like, "This sounds really good."
Yeah. So I got the interface, and it works for now.
Yeah, I mean nowadays with like how convenient technology is, anybody can record stuff at home nowadays.
Well, you gotta have a decent, like having a decent pair of small diaphragms like that is.
Yep. And for solo guitar, for solo ukulele.
Right. Yeah, it depends on what you're doing, but yeah. That setup right there with the Apogee is really, that's great. I mean, it sounds like the proof is in the pudding or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice, to be able to do that, and it's nice now so that as I come up with new arrangements and when things are feeling okay, now it's feeling really good, I can just set it up and grab it while it's there. You know what I mean? I don't need to,
What I love about it is it's these
exactly.
how thick these songs can get. Yeah, totally. I know. It's like not having to like schedule and pay for studio time and all of that.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's nothing like a great engineer. There's nothing like,
Sure.
And so, I'm not. I think that I'm not like beholden to that in a way. Or, I think I just like the option of having the home recording because, there's also nothing like getting the take. Right? So maybe the gain's a little hot or whatever, or maybe the mic's a little far or whatever. But like if you're in the mood and you get that take, right? And that happens to be when it's going to happen, right? Genius comes to knock, but you have to be home to answer the door, right? Like when Is recorded, right? It's lucky that Milan answered and went down to the studio and like they grabbed it when it was that moment. That was when it had to happen, and it happened, and all the things happened to allow it to happen. And so I think just having the mics gives me a little more flexibility, which is nice. It's not that I won't end up doing more studio stuff for sure, later, but it's just, at least then I can grab things.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, but then yeah, right. So it's like you're inspired, and it's like, oh man, this is a great motive, right? And instead of just being able to, grab it on your phone or something, right? Actually record it, because a lot of times too, I don't know if you ever get this, you compose something, right? And then you play it the next day, and it's like, oh, it doesn't sound.
It's totally different.
It doesn't sound the same. What happened?
Yeah.
Exactly. Is the beer different? Like why am I not? Why does this not sound?
Did I buy my coffee from someplace other than Starbucks today?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
and so, but having a good recording and being able to grab that, is, I think, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
Can you play one of the pieces from that album for us?
Sunshine, yeah. Cool. And so actually what I did was there's a recapitulation, the return of the melody. That part I totally ripped from Benny.
But it's so tasty.
Yeah, but it's just those 4 bars, because then actually right after that he does something else to reharmonize it, and then instead what I did is I flipped it the other way, and then so instead of going chromatic down, then I walk back up, right? And so he does. Anyway, so I just messed with it a little. So, Benny. Right, and so it's just for a moment. Anyways, but
it's so funny that like you felt compelled to have to credit that little.
Oh
bar.
Yeah, no, totally. I did not come up with that genius harmony. Like that's totally Benny all over it. Right, and I called him actually before I recorded it, and I was like, Benny, I'm gonna steal your chords.
He probably was like, yeah, just do it, yeah.
He
probably,
he's like, whatever,
exactly
man,
what he would say.
Just go, bro.
Yeah,
it's
go.
all yours. And then even the turnaround, they always do this little but up at every vamp, something between the repetitions of the song, and I do that. I use it in different forms.
That was nice.
Yeah, just this little, that's a very modern thing. I find that a lot in guitar music now, is this little.
I know that, like, Tommy Emmanuel does stuff like that.
Right, yeah, Tommy Emmanuel, or there's this guy, Mateus Sato.
Oh, yeah.
Electric guitar player that just.
Yeah.
Just watch anything that he
Didn't
plays.
Didn't you do like that 10 level of electric guitar or something like that?
Or was that Ichika Nito?
I think it might have been. I
That's the
forgot
Japanese
because
guy.
I know like both of them are just insane.
Yeah, those two
Just
guys
crazy.
are quite fun. Anyways, what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, Yarma Sunshine.
Incredible.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, yeah.
Jeez.
What a beautiful man you are.
And the guitar is just staying at the end. It was just like
No,
kept going. I was
it'll
like,
just keep going.
wow.
I just love that body and warmth it gives too. You know, it's so full and rich sounding.
It's like it has its own built-in reverb. This
Yeah.
guitar really, it's like you play it and it's just kind of just...
Even when you were talking earlier, I could hear it kind of like I could hear
Yeah.
the top.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very reactive, you know, and that's, you know, the more, that's the, right, that's, and I think it goes back to what we were first talking about with, you know, the instrument is, you know, having an instrument that responds to everything that you're putting into it, right, is really inspiring, you know.
And there's a journey to finding that instrument too.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it took me forever to find this, and as soon as I heard another guy playing a Sheridan guitar by the name of Simon Powis. He's an Australian, which is why he had this, you know, the same type of guitar from the same maker. And so actually, it's I heard years before. I heard Peter Boyd, an Australian guitarist, in like maybe this is 2005 or 6. I heard him play one of these, and I remember he sat down in a living room and at the Maui guitar class, and the piece that he played starts with a low bass note, and the whole room jumped because it was like they didn't expect, because like he tuned like in another room and came in with the guitar and sat down, and classical guitar, right? You sit like, don't move, right? So like don't creak your chair like anyways, classical concert, right? So everybody's sitting there in the living room just. And he slams that note, and everybody just jumps a foot in the air, you know. And I thought to myself, "Oh my God!" And then he plays, and it just sounds so like huge, right? It's like I'm not like, "Oh, I can't hear," and then
no mics or anything.
Yeah, and I asked him after, I was like, "What is it?" And he said, "It's this Paul Sheridan," and I was like, "Oh, cool, note to self." Anyways, 2008 rolls around, 2009, right? 2009, I'm at Yale, and I hear Simon Powis in the next room, and I'm thinking, man, that guitar, that sounds like a piano, but that's a guitar, because he's I can hear the you know, but then the stuff he's playing just sounds so clear, and I'm like, gosh, what, I gotta go find out what kind of guitar that is. And I don't usually ask I'm not usually like, oh, what kind of guitar? What kind of strings? I don't know.
The rest of us do that.
Yeah,
I don't know. That wasn't my impression of you, but I mean that. I've just never been that. I just don't know why.
You're more interested in the pieces of music they're playing, maybe, or
yeah. Just like what harmony. How did you do that sound effect? What because too, if you can take a set of old strings and make them sound really great, that's a thing too. Anyways, but so I got just really just
how long did it take you to own one after that?
And I just made myself. I think I went home like that night, and I emailed the guy. Basically, I went and I talked to Simon. And I said, what kind of guitar is that? And he said, it's a Paul Sheridan. And I said, give me his email. And I got his email, and I sent him an email. I said, so Yale provides an instrument loan. So it's a nice low rate, but it's this basically they'll let you spend as much as you want so you can buy anything you want for an instrument, because they think if you went to Yale and you have a degree in performance and you have a master's, you should go out there and play an instrument that represents that, too. And
so Yale paid for the instrument?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
well, it's a loan, right? And so I'm still paying for it.
Oh, okay.
But it makes it accessible, right? So the tuition in the school is free, right?
Right.
But they provide the loan.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, because it's not like you could have just pulled $9,000 out of your pocket.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so, youngest of 6. Yeah, there was no money for school. Anyways,
youngest of 6. Wow.
Yeah, and so it took me, I think, this is made. He finished at 10:10, right? So, actually no. So what it was is that was I went through my first year, right, and then it was the following. It's a 2-year program, and it was the first. So the school starts in August. So it was August 2010 that I heard him play it, and I said, I want that guitar. And I emailed the guy, and he said, okay, the next one that I'm just finishing up, I will send to you. So he finished up 10:10, and then put it in the mail, and I got it like end of October.
Wow.
And then and I just It took me a while to actually feel comfortable behind the wheel. I had another guitar, a Christopher Carrington, which is a great acoustic guitar, but it's more of like a smaller setting kind of guitar, and it sounds really great, like mic'd close and things. My first album, Born and Raised, is on that guitar, and I actually recorded that when I had this guitar.
Oh, okay.
Right, but I chose to use the Carrington to record my first album because I had been playing it for so many more years at that point, and like I just kind of I don't think I knew how to ride this horse yet. And then my second album, 4 years later, or not, what was that, 4 years? Yeah, it was about 4 years later. I felt more comfortable and recorded on this one. And it's just, it requires a bigger ideas. I think musical ideas. It sounds okay playing like, little. Sounds okay doing that, but it took me a while to realize that it can handle like. It's so reactive, right? And to get used to playing with that level of, like, to that quiet, to that loud, right? We're not always used to that.
It takes a while to get to know your instrument sometimes,
Yeah, and some are a little bit more compressed and don't lend themselves to like that as well.
Yeah, they just don't. That's what I like about.
But there's different tones with different great instruments too that just kind of inspire differently. And
yeah. I mean, the Romero guitars are just great.
Oh yeah,
they got a beautiful tone, and it's like that classic Spanish sound.
Yeah, and they have a new one that's guitarist Romero that I'd like to show you. It's like there's a German classical builder Wolfgang Yellinghaus that moved to China. He fell in love with a Chinese woman and ended up there like a few decades ago. Has like a small group that works with him there, and they build. But I was really impressed with their stuff. We don't have any of the classical ones now, but I'll show you one of the flamenco guitars before you leave. Just it's good to know because they're like in that under 4,000 range. And if you know any, even students looking for like a really high level instrument that's kind of somewhat
attainable,
yeah. Because it's like it's like you can get a good instrument for however $1,000 or something, but it's not that level. It's definitely not that level. Right. But yeah, and then when you get into like Pepe's Customs or Sheridan and there's levels of it, yeah. But it's always beautiful to hear somebody of your level with an accompanying, like a luthier was on that level as well, and together it really makes some magic. Can you play one of the songs that you played on that you did for your last album on ukulele?
Yeah.
Here, I'll grab it.
It's heavy. Wow, that is heavier than it's a very heavy guitar, right?
Yeah. Interesting. I bet the sides are super thick.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
all the sound goes off.
Yeah. It's like a drum, you
Yep.
got
Apparently they sell them by the pound. I'll do a London Bridge medley. So it goes from London Bridge to Wheels on the Bus, Itsy Bitsy Spider, and back to London Bridge.
Nice.
That's so awesome.
Nice. It's crazy, like how your fingers are like skipping around. Like I was looking at your index, and it's like it had a brain of its own. When you're going up, I was just like, "What the heck?" Like, yeah.
So that one, I do a little bit of Benny, right? There's just a little bit of the chord melody, a little bit of maybe Byron. I don't know. Would do something more with like the walking.
That sounds like something that Byron would do.
Right, it's the little walking bass thing.
Yeah, that was like, it was tripping out. I was like, oh.
the bass line.
Yeah. So, but for an ukulele bass line.
Yeah. It's so cool though to like thicken up these like, nursery rhyme kind of simple things that are just a melody and make it dense and
make it something that it doesn't need to be,
right.
Especially if I have a feeling that I'm going to be listening to a lot of kids' music, and I thought to myself, it'd be nice to like have an album out there so that parents can listen to kid songs and have like, it doesn't need to be like, why do we play down to kid songs as a musician? Like, why don't we like hold them up and like, we're playing it for our kids, so it's an opportunity for them to grow, for them to hear this sound. Like, like why don't they should hear that? They should hear. Like, they should hear that. That's a really nice thing as a harmonic. Like, we tend to not like things we're not familiar with. Yeah. Right? And I think
if it's like, I don't know, but it's like challenging to kids that have never had that. Right. And then they hear jazz and they're just like, I don't know what's going on, so I don't like it,
Right. But to provide a little bit, this is like a little bit of jazz sort of in there. There's a 3-6-2-5 kind of thing.
Right.
And
but still fun.
Yeah. Right. So it's trying to find that balance.
Not too challenging. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be.
Right.
Like totally out, like getting all weird for the kids.
You just want them to be happy and enjoy the music.
Yeah.
Eric Dolphy here.
Yeah. Here, listen to these minor seconds. Like, So,
what do you think? You would like. What about maybe 3 things that you think like players that are just getting going? Let me think of maybe any level. What do you think that's like? Give us 3 things that musicians can work on that you think would make them better players. I mean, it might be stuff they're already working on, but you've taught so many people, and like, what's like 3 things that you think every player should be doing to get better?
The hardest part about practice is taking it out of the case.
Doing it.
Tuning it up.
Yeah, no, just like getting it once you get it in your hands and you're like, okay, like that's sometimes the hardest part.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Number
like,
1, stop thinking and just
jumping in the
it.
ocean. Hardest part is like, it's like, I'm gonna go swimming, right? He gets in water. It's cold. Right? And it's like no matter how many times you jump in, it's like there's still and then and then you're in. It's great. Once you're in, it's great.
Yeah.
The hardest part about practicing is taking it out of the case. Just take it out. Just if you want to practice, just stop. Don't think if you think to yourself, I want to practice, just get it now. Don't stop to think about it more. Don't change your mind. You're gonna reason yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Right? And
you're
so
gonna convince yourself not to.
Yeah. Right. And then the more and to trust in good work so that you can move on. Right. So like if you want to you pick your battles, right? And so it's that's sort of 3 things in one. But I mean, just the idea is that to like I'm working on an arrangement of a Disney song, A Whole New World, for in a slack key tuning, and basically I gave myself a goal one day was, okay, I'm going to learn the A section up to the modulation. I'm not going to play anything after the modulation. Then Tuesday, the next day, then it was, okay, I'm going to play only from the modulation to the end. And I'm not going to even... If I end up accidentally playing the beginning because we have fun playing, right, I'm not going to get like mad at myself, but I'm going to be like, oh, I'm not supposed to play that part today. This is the, we're going to the B section only today. And so I would only practice that. And so I think being willing to move forward and leave that work behind and trust in the work you've done, so that then by Wednesday, right, then I can play both sections, and then I'm starting to put it together. But if I just start like on Monday at the beginning and I'm going to play to the end, I'm just going to play until I get tired, and then the ending is going to get frustrating for me, and then right? And then we lose that inspiration. So it's like managing our inspiration. We only have so many hours
Setting
of
limitations.
music. We only have so many hours of music in us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I could put in about like 5-6 hours a day on the guitar, maybe 7 if I'm like really grooving, or 8 maybe. But like most days, it's you know it's hard to find that time.
You have to
Yeah,
have
it
good
is.
technique to play that long without getting carpal tunnel or something.
So that actually I may have to say that maybe if I just said what was 2 and 3. Is take it out of the case, you know, manage what you're working on, know what you're working on, right, and goal set, and leave it behind the next day, like work on something else, and just like really trust it so that you can work on something else. Like you have to let go so that you can focus on if it's your tone, then stop thinking about everything else. Like, you know, it's hard sometimes to compartmentalize, right?
It is,
But then
yeah.
that's the only way you're going to be able to take tone and play everything else with that good tone. Like you need to just work on tone for like an entire session and like a month or whatever it is, right? It's like it needs to be a thing that like you spent time on. Otherwise, it's not. Once everything gets going and it's like then that's one of the first things to go.
It's never good to practice everything at once.
Yeah,
You know, because then you really don't know where to dedicate all of your time and effort towards. Because you, like, for me, it's like I'll see everything that I'm doing wrong, but if I try to correct them all at the same time,
yeah,
nothing really gets corrected, and if
Yeah.
it does, it takes so much longer.
yeah. So having that reverence, right, for the art, you know, it's like being suspicious of your own playing, not just grabbing the instrument and going to it and like I know what I'm doing already. Like, how much better? Like, okay, we'll talk about like one of the things I've learned is, you know, over the years is like, okay, like having a relaxed left hand when you're playing, right? And so like I'll just notice, like when I first learned that, I would catch myself like playing a chord and like death gripping the chord, and then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, whoa. But like, and that's fine. It's actually great. Failure is the beginning, right? It's like, and it's not failure, it's just like recognizing that there's something to change and then addressing it.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's hard. And that's very hard to like be like, yep, I'm doing that bad, but that's great that I identified that, and that makes
Yeah.
me happy that I know what to work on. You know, and it's like the more you can like take the time and be patient with yourself, you know, focus on the task at hand, be disciplined enough to know what it is that you're looking for, because if you don't know what good tone is, how are you going to correct your tone? If you don't know what, you know, an inversion is, how are you going to practice your inversions? Like if you don't know, like, it's then, right? And so, but just to be able to take one thing at a time, in order to be able to learn that thing, we have to be able to let go of everything else that's happening and focus on the task at hand, you know. And
That's beautiful. I really like that. I mean, I'm gonna keep that.
yeah,
Because I mean, I'm kind of ADD with things, and like I don't know. Like I just, you know, if you start to try to do one thing, and the other thoughts come in, and you just start, you know. But just really taking the time.
like a kid, right? Because as a kid, I can remember just sitting there like you know, and just loving it, and just for hours, and just like, and I wasn't like, oh, but I got to make sure I take the trash out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, like that's just being an adult, right? And so it's like you can't just be like, well, screw it, I'm just gonna play music, right? But so we have to find that balance. Like, how do we still? So we give ourselves the time. You say, I'm gonna take this half an hour to practice, so that you don't need to keep looking at your watch. Set an alarm. That way you can just get into the half an hour and be like, like, and really focused, right, with whatever it is, and then half an hour's done. Okay, moving on. And then actually taking care of your hands, right, is really important. A lot of players get injuries and stuff, and so playing with good technique from the moment you pick up the instrument is one of the best. So I always made technical changes to my playing in the morning after a night's rest. So I was very careful the first time, like, if it's like, okay, I'm going to learn to use my index finger. So it's like, okay, here I am sitting, with my instrument, and then I'll go like this with my left hand. staying relaxed. Okay, am I going to push with my index finger on that top string and lift the other fingers away just a little bit and stay relaxed? You know, so that really it's just that motion. But to like calm your entire body and to calm each muscle in the entire hand, and then to learn what that feels like, you know, it's nice in the morning because you've kind of completely reset, right? And we haven't really sent any signals to the finger yet. We haven't sent any signals to the hand, so we have a little bit of a clean slate.
Are you going for like the most relaxed, non-tense?
Yeah.
Is that?
So the most focused and like, you know, can I actually only move my middle finger to the left? You know, can I only move it to the right? Can I move it back and forth? Right? Because then it's like, right? But then to say, but to be like, you know, it's okay for me to take 10 minutes of my life to do that, and to just like, because that is a skill that is important, because control and dexterity is the name of the game when it comes to
I
music.
feel like you're trimming a bonsai tree in between or something. It's super zen, right?
Right, yeah, and then again, to trust your work, right? And so not to get impatient with that process, to give it the time it's going to need to unravel maybe other thousands of hours of habit, right? To create a new habit, right? And the only way to do that is to closely monitor the way that you're using your hands the new way, enough times until it becomes the new way that you do it.
You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So you have to be your own security guard.
Yeah.
You have to be your own best teacher. You have to like pretend.
Sorry about that.
No, it was
But yeah, there's a lot of awareness that maybe
Schubert said, you know, pretend the master's watching over your shoulder or something, like Beethoven. You know, Schubert really admired Beethoven, and so I think he always said, you know, practice as if the master were watching. You know, so it's like even you know, you sit down and practice, and it's like, okay, you know, it's not to be taken lightly, right? And but again, it's like that's I'm trying to make a career out of it, right? I'm making a living out of it, and so that's how seriously do you.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, it's just a passion of mine, and I want to in this life get as good as I can. You know, that's.
Yeah, and it's like even if you're not trying to make a living out of it, if you have that passion and you
just want to play.
Yeah, then it's like having that level of awareness and attention to those sort of details can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially when you're talking about doing the, you know, developing habits. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, like putting things away. I need to learn. I'm working on that. It's like my habit, right? But to be mindful and present, right? It's like that's how we adapt, right? We after a while we don't need to. It becomes the new habit, right? But that transition, you know, it's something just to be ready for. I think just to know that is a thing. You know, like if we don't know that like we can't just like expect change. We're just not going to just like miraculously get better because we think about it sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
put in the work.
But yeah, so you put in the work, but then also to like know, like, well, what is it I want to do? The music you play defines the musician you become. I really want to get better at bebop. That's the thing. Oh, I really want to get. That's something I'm terrible. I'm like, I would love to play better bebop. So if that say is the goal of mine, I would say, okay, I'm going to learn, you know, a bebop melody. You know, I'm going to work on, you know, ornithology or something, you know, and just like really, you know, and then break that up and
what did you say? The music you play defines the musician you become? Or?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So if you learn 100 jazz songs, you're going to probably be pretty good at jazz.
Yeah.
You learn 100 Hawaiian songs, hey, you might play some Hawaiian music, bro. You know, you learn 100 classic rock tunes, you might be able to do some finger tapping. Yeah. So the music that you choose to venture down that road, you know, that like, and like it's a choose your own adventure, right? So we can become this thing that's like a mix of like all these different things that we've experienced and learned.
Yeah.
And you know,
then you have something more unique in the end when you can put it all together.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it just becomes a wider palette of colors and things and that you have available to express, you know, yourself.
I was thinking about that when you mentioned a new composition of A Whole New World.
Oh yeah.
You think you could try it?
I could try it. I could try working through it.
That would be awesome. Sorry, I gotta check on this. My wife.
Oh, it's good.
Put in the work.
So yeah, I messed around with it months ago, and then sort of one night, and then put it away, and then this week I decided, all right, I'm gonna finally finish my arrangement of A Whole New World, and work on that. And so the first section works very great because it's in D. That's actually exactly the piano part that happens in the recording, so that was nice. It just happened to work out so well in slack key tuning. One finger. Like that's the first four notes of the thing, and then that's so slack key, right? And I was like, is this Aladdin Hawaiian?
Yeah, right.
Anyways.
Jasmine was a tittle.
That's so pretty.
Sorry about the hiccup, but it's only about 3 days old. So
No, I mean, yeah.
still figuring out that B section. There's a few
Sorry for
leaps
putting
to
you
make
on
the
the
melody.
spot with
No,
something
it's-
new like that, but man, that is just so gorgeous.
I've always loved that song. I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember. I think I was a kid, like,
Yeah.
you know, and
I'll still cry at a Disney movie.
oh, who doesn't? And so it's you know, what's great about that one is it's sort of funny because like the first half just fell on the guitar so naturally, and then I mean, it's so like it just feels like wow, that's kind of like a guitar song almost, and then it goes to the B section. And
you got
that's
the penny chord, right?
Yeah, and so I have to really figure out a way to, but still make it feel nice and
open,
natural and
yeah,
open. Yeah, right. So it's like, oh man. So it's a lot of slides to make that happen, like, and like here. So instead of going, I keep these two down and then slide. With a little slide there to connect it so it doesn't feel choppy.
I notice you keep your pinky like on the E string all the
You know, trying to have a lot of slides because there's no more open strings. For the most, I mean, sometimes there are, but I just have to.
It's brilliant. I mean, that guitar sustains really well too, so that helps a lot.
Oh, what?
It's like, take your foot off the pedal already.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy because you're playing all the way up there. That's normally like where the sustain ends up being cut.
Yeah. It almost gets louder.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like almost like too punchy, right?
it's
I mean, no,
growling.
it's something. No.
Yeah.
This guitar has got some cojones, but it's yeah. This is Pu'u O Mahuka, so I use a D minor tuning, which is a little less common. And I wanted to tell the story of the Heiau above Waimea Bay, Pu'u O Mahuka.
Nice.
Yeah, and so basically there's the story is that there were 3 men that were captured and killed there from, Captain George Vancouver's ship, and this was in, 1790s or something like that. And, story goes 3 of them were captured and killed, and I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but there was probably a chase, there was probably a, something, and so this is the first person telling their version. And then I take the melody and flip it around for the second person. Later we hear the third person. I thought this sounded like a chase. In the middle of the song, they think they're going to get away. So they run. Maybe this way. Maybe this way. This is the way. This is totally the way. Let's go. Oh my god, here they come. This way. No, that way. What about that way?
So are you thinking
Is
like
that it?
movie, cinema,
Something
scenes
like
in your
that,
head?
yeah. And
Like
then,
when you're writing.
and here I come. Oh my god, here they come with those spears. Run. This is when like you're running so fast you can't even feel your legs. Ah, through the California grass. And then run. And they catch him. 2, and then so there's 3 taps. Lights out on the 3rd. So it's actually the 3 lowest strings, the 3 highest strings, with the harmonic 3 octaves up, and then 1, 2, 3.
Dang.
Wow.
That's
That was exciting.
There's so much things that's going on.
Yeah. So should I just play it without talking?
Yeah. But thank you for
But I have to
visuals.
tell the
It's-
story
yeah.
first. It's hard. So that's like when I do concerts, I'll usually tell a story and then play, and then it's kind of like storytelling and playing. So that's not super
good.
easy.
I mean, it's hard.
I
but
mean,
it's like
I was
storytelling is-
envisioning the chase, you know,
Right, yeah.
like, up in
One day I can do a music video.
The mountain ranges. Yeah.
Any videographers? Yeah, let's make that happen.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That was
And
epic.
to compose something like that too, you know. Mad respect. Hey, Corey, I guess is here. And I'm gonna go let him know that he didn't want to like walk in.
Oh, you want me to
Yeah.
go? I can.
Yeah, I'll go run down.
Cool. I have time to.
Dude.
That was nice.
Glad you dig it.
Yeah, that was
I
really cool.
haven't ever made a video of that one, so this is great.
Oh, good. Awesome. Yeah. And
This will
then
be the
Andrew's
first time.
gonna make it sound really nice too.
Nice.
That was good. I could hear like if you were to ever like add like any accompaniment, just bass and percussions, man.
Yeah.
That's
Drums, right?
Yeah.
Totally bass percussion, yeah.
bass and percussions.
Some Hawaiian percussion on there, some ipu, some giant, one of those giant drums,
Oh,
a
nice.
big pahu.
Oh yeah. That'd be pretty epic.
It's like a chase, right?
Mm. And that's on the new album too.
No, that's from Songs for the North Shore.
Oh, okay. I got that
So
one.
I got Songs for the North Shore, and I got Songs for My Son, and then I released a single called Song for My Wife. And Janelle
Nice, yeah.
just named it Janelle.
That's cool.
subtitle song for my wife. So the rest of my albums, I think, are all going to be like
songs for someone or something.
what, right? You know, sleep songs for bedtime, songs for my son, songs for my daughter, songs for the family.
I mean, it could go in any direction you want it to.
Songs from my childhood, songs.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't need to be for, it could be
songs.
from.
Yeah, songs from, for.
I like for because it's like a gift, and I kind of like that idea of making my albums, for someone or dedicated for something or having a purpose like that. That's more selfless.
So did you write any of the pieces for like songs for your son?
They're just
like before, or was it like after you got the album concept?
It was after I found out we were pregnant, and then I decided
to start composing.
Yeah, start arranging those. Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
those all took me about 6 months, to arrange.
That's pretty cool.
Well, to arrange and practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of Facebook Live and stuff, just because I couldn't go out and practice, right?
Oh.
Because usually I'll run it like at a show or something, or at a gig or whatever. I'll get a chance to perform it for people, and that's how the best. That's the best way for me to shed it. Actually, it's like practicing at home a bunch, but then there's nothing like playing it for people to all of a sudden show you.
I noticed that too. It's like when you play in front of people, you end up putting like extra effort because there's no safety net, like at home. You can make as much mistakes as you want.
Yeah,
I mean,
go that extra
it's still
mile.
okay to make mistakes live, but you should be risky enough where you don't make as much.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I always make mistakes. Like no matter how much I practice for a song, but at least it's not.
Oh,
as noticeable
I'm always thinking to myself, here comes the scale. And then.
Jeez.
Oh, dang.
That was the best version of that song I ever heard.
Thanks.
Should have heard is "You're My Sunshine."
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Yeah, I've played it on it.
Crazy.
I was just talking about that's how over the pandemic that's the only way to practice. It's like if I feel because the best way to practice for me has always been playing for my friends, playing for people that I respect, that make me nervous, that put me on the spot. Like I really seek that out.
You get
that's
nervous?
always been a thing. Constantly, I'm terrified right now, but I crack myself up. So the idea is I just really found that, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, like I just really depended on that to put myself on the spot so that it's like now I feel like playing and I can't just practice like alone the whole time. I need to feel inspired. I need to feel like I'm sharing. I need to feel like it's meaningful. I have a reason for playing.
A little bit of that pressure.
Yeah, nothing like pressure to like all of a sudden like snap you into it, create that motivation, right? Create that inspiration. Create that like moment. If it's not there, like how do you create that so that like because that's you are what you do, right? You are the music you play. If you want to lift, you want big muscles and lift weights. I mean, it's not very crazy concept, but like so. Like, if I want to be better at performing, we have to perform. We have to find performance opportunities. Facebook Live, Instagram Live. There it is. And I can just delete it right afterwards. Perfect. Great. Really. Because at least it's like, because I have no shame in saying that, like, it's a journey to get to a place where you can play a piece without too many mistakes. Just to get to that, like, and to... share that with my friends.
And it's different, like, by yourself in your room versus, people are listening and judging. And
all the part you thought you had melts away, and then the part that you had a hard time with, you can play all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. Right? And
it's you're like,
and then the intro just sounds like... I'm sorry.
Oh, that's me all the time.
So, yeah, but there's nothing like... So, I mean, yeah, playing for people is just... that's why we do it. But
I still need to take lessons from you.
We'll trade, bro. We'll just hang out, eat poke, and show each other chords.
I need to there's a lot of stuff like I need to learn as far as like performing. As far as like there's a real approach.
Well, this is where we get it. We can get into it. So there are many ways, and you are absolutely brilliant. You're both brilliant musicians.
By myself, it's this guy.
Well, and I've just been lucky that I have had. So, like, I think all that you're alluding to is like just like the way I hold my hands sometimes, right, or something like that. Like,
no, it's way more than that.
Well, and it's I'm very fortunate that I've been blessed with some amazing teachers, and that. I'd be glad to get together and share whatever it is that, I can anytime, but, if there's any, I think the art of classical guitar is just a nice thing, it's not like the way, but you know what, it's like they've been for like a long time.
It's a great way.
Yeah, because it's like, as far as like guitar traditions go, if you go back to Fernando Sor, in the late, 17th century, right? 1780, 90s, and like before that, it was like the lute, and there were, like.
Can you hear his guitar just resonating from his voice?
Yeah.
He's talking. He's just like, ooh.
I just look at it and I feel it.
No, it's
an
it
amazing guitar.
does. It's if I'm right there. Yeah, it just decides to speak on its own. It wants to chime in.
Chorus.
Yeah. But the one thing that is great, and that so when I first saw Jeff Peterson play when I was a freshman at UH, I took class guitar, and I thought to myself, he knows like how to play. He's like, there's like he's I didn't even have the word technique. Like, I didn't even know what to call it. It was like he's pulling the strings like a way that like it looks right. It looks like, you know,
Very elegant.
Proper.
yeah. And if there is such a thing, you know what I mean? Because like, you know, there are so many great guitar players out there that have never ever even heard of classical guitar. You know what I mean? So it's not to say, but it does lend itself to a lot of great, sort of sonic palette. You know, the classical technique allows us to do things like play a chord, right? So I could play a chord, but I'll practice playing each voice. So most on the bass, most on the melody, most on the inner voice, most on the other inner voice, and then all four.
See that approach, like.
So I'm right. So with each of the four fingers, I'm pushing hardest on this one, or pulling, or whatever is happening, right? So it's like, but all at the same time. So it's like most, and most. But it's like chord. But which voice do I want to hear? Right?
Oh, that's fascinating.
That all translates.
Yeah, but that's a classical guitar thing.
I wanna get into that.
Yeah.
Like the right way. I like to call it the
And
right
I think
way.
like a lot of like
because even within
metal
classical guitar, there's
or
schools.
like
Oh, okay.
I mean a lot of guys that shred learned classical
Yeah.
for the techniques and
Yeah. It's you know, because there's like a South American style of playing. There's like a German like way of playing. There's more of an Italian way of playing classical guitar.
Okay.
There's more of a Spanish classical like way of playing, and then that's totally different than the flamenco, right? Way of
right.
playing.
Yeah.
So
did you
but those
study
are-
all those?
Yeah, well, that's something I'm a little more familiar with, right? And so, like, if I were to play, like South American, they use a lot of, how do I explain this? More middle knuckle on the pulling of the strings. So, so instead of pulling like this and plucking a string, right, moving from here, we're moving from there. So we pluck sort of like that.
And that changes the.
The timbre, right?
Timbre.
It's the tone, yeah, totally, because you're either walking from your hip or walking from your knee, and so, if I were to, so,
And that very style and technique gives it that sound, right?
right, compared to like, that's not it.
That's the South American style.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But then not just this, but do a rest stroke with the bass, so we're pushing into the next string with each one. So. Now compare that to more of underneath, even scooping. So like a lot of French players will do things like. I'm in a terrible tuning right now, so.
You're in D minor.
Oh, wow. That sounded different.
So.
What part of Europe
Like
would
that
that
piece,
style
love
be?
that.
So that's right, but that's very straightforward, right? So that might be like a more of a German way of doing it or something. But if I were to, how do I explain that? But it's like more of a even like a. Kind of wacky, sorry, but the idea is, there's so many different. It becomes sort of like
That almost sounded like a Segovia.
They don't. Yeah, and well, he played that one, but it almost becomes more like an accent, like a musical accent. Like you could take if you had a Brazilian classical guitarist, an Italian classical guitarist, and a German classical guitarist play the same piece of music, you can hear
The nuances.
their sort of geographic tendencies in a way.
And that's their accent, right?
Yeah, it's like a musical accent, you know. And
Can you tell, like, are you Brazilian? Like if you see like without even hearing them speak.
maybe if I just saw their hands.
They're playing like.
Maybe if I just saw their hands, yeah.
You must be Brazilian. And like,
Or
oh, yeah, you're right, man.
or South American
That's super
style, yeah.
Or South American.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's racist, man. You can't say that in 2021 anymore. What are you, German?
Okay, we're just gonna
Racist?
delete all this.
It's like, no, I could tell by your playing. It's like, oh, okay.
Let's just gonna delete this. I like my job. So yeah, I mean, but with classical guitar, we learn all sorts of different things. Like we'll play, that's Bach, right? So 1685 to 1750, like so that's Baroque music. But we'll play Spanish stuff too. So was it? That's when everybody likes, and then when it goes to, So we work a lot on these triplets. There's a composer, Mauro Giuliani, that wrote 120 right-hand arpeggios. So they go something like I think they start with. And it's so that you learn to just do this, and then move the thumb independently from the rest of the hand. The tricky part is moving the thumb back up. So I can move the thumb up here, but the hand doesn't follow. Then it moves on to... We'll practice it putting all three fingers down at the beginning of each set of three. Or sequential, where you put one down at a time. Anyways, and then it goes backwards is like the third pattern, and then it goes to, and then do you see where I'm going? And then
Can you just keep going?
yeah, no, and there's 120, right? And so you do this pattern just over a C and a G7, C and a G7.
It's crazy because that's the first time I've ever seen somebody play a G7 like that, and it sounds great. It sounds amazing. That voice.
Isn't that a great voicing?
That's a great.
Yeah, it sounds.
Yeah, because you got 4 different notes, right? You got B, G, D, F.
Yeah.
Yeah, B, G, D,
Wow.
F. Yeah, so there's no doublings.
That's awesome.
So that's a Yasui thing, right? No doublings. You shouldn't have 2 of the same note. If you have 2 of the same note, especially on guitar, ukulele, you have a note. It's an instrument of choices, right? Piano, you can play a 20-note chord. Who cares? But guitar, we have limited with maximum 6 at a time, right? And so each one matters. And so
Wow. Yeah.
don't play the same note twice. If you are, then you should know that you're doing it, and it should be very deliberate.
I'm learning a lot. I've just been here for like 10 minutes.
But that's, yeah. Anyways.
Wow. Okay.
Not that the repeated notes are bad, right? Obviously, like ostinato bass line, slack key, we use it all the time. It's great, it's fine, right? It's just meaning that it's deliberate, meaning you're aware of it. That it's the same note.
That's cool.
Where were we doing? Music? Oh, yeah. This is about the Night Marchers.
Your original
Yeah.
piece.
And so it starts sort of like you're hiking around dusk, and then you realize, uh-oh, it's getting dark. And then he runs through the bush. And the melody is based off of, I made up my own idea of like, well, what would chant sound like? And in classical music, the descending chromatic line, note by note, represents the walk to the other world. So, for the Night Marchers, drums. And there's different marchers and different islands. One going this way and the other going that way. And then another island. But the sun always rises. And it falls again. They march.
Damn.
Wow. We hear it together.
So it's hard to play and tell the story.
Yeah. I want to hear the piece all together.
Yeah, sure. Let me do some fine tuning.
You always blow me away, Ian. You are so brilliant. That is just incredible. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was insane.
Thanks, man.
I mean, when you came, like a couple years ago, you came to the shop and you played it. I'm just like, holy crap. And then again, like, holy crap.
Thanks, man.
I love the imagery too.
Yeah, it's always inspired. I mean, that's what drew me to classical music a lot. You know, was what really I think. Not only what grabbed me was like, hey, classical guitarists kind of play like slack key, where they play the bass and the melody and everything, right? That's kind of what was my immediate impression. Or kind of like ukulele players, how ukulele players will play the whole song on the instrument, right? And that's what I loved about classical guitar. But they, they really.
Kind of a story being told.
Yeah, it creates an image with the music and like Peter and the Wolf, Sergei Prokofiev, who was also left-handed. I'm left-handed, but anyways.
Nice one, left-handed.
Nice. 1, 2, 3.
Really?
Yeah. But we all play right-handed.
I
There's something
think
to
I'm
that.
naturally
Right? No, really,
left-handed,
there's
but-
something.
You write with your left hand?
Yeah, I write with my left hand, except for when I'm using the whiteboard. No, used to be the chalkboard. Anyways,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll use my left hand and then switch to my right because it's easier.
It's like a
But you're writing letters this big anyway, so it's not that hard. I mean, but
Ooh,
yeah.
I don't know. I would look pretty bad using my left hand.
yeah. Well, I didn't really mean to. I just noticed it one day when I was teaching. Like,
Oh, because you're writing on such a
It's
big.
like, oh.
yeah, no, I was like done writing, and I was like,
I can't
why am
do
I
it.
using this hand?
It works.
It was already, yeah, but it was just so I don't know how long I had been doing that, but
Even people, like,
Ambidextrous.
It's a
yeah.
Da Vinci.
Well, I mean,
right?
music,
Da
right? I
Vinci
mean,
used to write with
guitar, you
both
can't
hands.
really. Da Vinci used both hands.
Yeah, he would when he wrote it was with both hands. Oh, that's what I heard. I don't know. Somebody can verify that.
Both
No, I wrote it like this, guy. Oh,
No, he's
Yeah,
writing.
he's the great Da Vinci. He's like,
He was writing the beginning and the end of the sentence at the same time, and they meet up. In
He was
the
going
middle.
like this.
right. That makes. That's cool.
It was like that, right?
He's writing
Oh,
on
no,
two
I
pages
don't
at the
know,
same
but-
time.
That sounds like it would be some folk legend type. But you know, he was such a genius. Who knows?
But that's what I heard. But yeah, thinking
That's
of it like
cool.
that, I was like,
Two
God, that makes more sense.
That's what I would.
That just seems wrong.
Before they invented like proper pencils and
Right.
whatever.
It's quills.
Thank you so much for coming, and
Yeah.
you know, you're so generous with your knowledge and your gift.
Sorry, I missed like 75% of it.
Your loss. No, you can always watch it later.
Yeah, I definitely will. But
I mean,
Definitely gonna want to watch it later.
I'm probably going to be asking the same questions, but do you just use regular nylon strings, or do you like fluorocarbon at all?
I like Regal Blue, the Augustine ones.
Oh, okay.
That's the one for at least for this guitar. Yeah, this
That's your
one's-
primary guitar, right?
Yeah,
Is that the one that got stolen out of your apartment?
yeah.
And then you got it back?
Yeah.
How did you get it back?
They said bring money, and then I brought the cops.
oh,
Nice.
wait, tell the
They
story.
tried
Well,
to play that game.
Yeah. They said
Hold your
like
guitar
I
for
put it,
ransom.
because I put it on Stolen Stuff Hawaii. I put a picture of it, and then they got a hold of me, and then some random girl
Genius.
got a hold of me and said, I think I saw somebody trying to sell your guitar. It looked like that, and I was like, oh really? Well, you have a picture, And then she had a picture of the guitar, and I was like, oh shoot. And then said, okay, well, and then she said, money get stuff done. Money get stuff done, yo. And I was
okay.
like, okay, that sounds super not sketchy. And then I was like, okay, well,
She's
sure, how much? $1 billion? I said like $3,000, and then they said like, okay, sure, and I was like, okay, cool. Where should we meet? And then we met at Kamehameha Shopping Center, and I brought the cops. So as soon as I saw them, I was just going like, hey, and then that was my signal for the cops to.
Wow.
And there was like a SWAT team like surrounded them, like different cop cars came in from like around the Kamehameha shopping center, and like
I don't want to
kinda
stereotype,
surrounded
but
them.
was it like a 1995 Honda Civic beaten up, different colors?
No, it was like a Datsun, like truck, and it was in the bed of the truck, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
They thought, yeah, we're gonna get him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
they-
brought us
they didn't-
$3,000. Oh, he brought the cops. I didn't see this coming at all.
I didn't see this coming at all, right?
Damn.
Like,
He stole his guitar. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Huh.
Wow, they were that stupid.
well, they were. I mean,
Or just not
It
that
just I was
smart.
I was very lucky. So this it has more of a gray color in places now, right? And all that gray is from the fingerprint dust. But there's no lacquer on the guitar, so it just went right into the grains.
Oh.
There, it was finished with like a French polish or
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah. But I mean, but it's just so like you can feel the
it wears
grains.
through-
you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't keep up with French polish and keep finishing it and all of that, then yeah, it pretty much goes down to wood.
And so it just is all that gray is fingerprint dust, actually.
You could have it touched up at some point if you cared to. You know,
Yeah,
I
at
mean,
the same time, it's sort of like some mana
Yeah.
that's in it from
That's
that.
character.
You know what I mean?
Blood, sweat, and tears, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more meaningful. Like there's,
It's like the chef's cutting board or the
And their knives.
yeah,
Set.
and like it's like a skillet. You know, I mean, actually,
Yeah.
skillet. You actually have to.
yeah.
take
Don't
care
wash
of
my
it.
pan.
Don't wash it. All the flavors in it.
Yeah. Who washed my pan? Who used soap on my
Wops.
pan?
Yeah, for real.
Wash my walk.
you think you three could figure out something to outro us with?
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin anything, but I'll just kind of hang out in the back. Oh, come on, Gordon. Get out of here. Play one song.
We got two mics here. Pick up the guitar. Because nylon versus steel.
Let me get low G.
That's might have to tune down.
Cedar and rosewood, just the standard, like classical guitar combo.
Indian rosewood, back and sides, cedar, and then Tasmanian oak and ebony.
And how old is that guitar? Like it's
10 years.
10
11
years.
years.
Nice. How often do you change your strings? Like every week? Or something?
I try to change them before performances, and
Like, do you have, after you change your strings, because they have to settle, they have to stretch in. Do you just let it set in? You just keep playing it until it.
I just keep
Just
playing it.
you don't do any kind of stretching of the strings.
I mean, I kind of do, but basically just playing it is enough to
to just break it in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do the typical, put it the whole thing, a whole half step up, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Then it
yeah,
just
yeah,
stretches
yeah.
down. Yeah. Put it in the case, tune it sharp, put it away, let it settle. Yeah. There's strategies, right? There's
'Cause then-
this strategy.
Yeah. That's what I do all the time.
But the thing is, like, that'll
Like,
screw the intonation up, right? And you can
can.
hear it.
You could fray your strings by doing that too, because you're pushing down at the same
I'll
time.
do the
Right.
what's his name from Aquila or Aquila? Mimo, is that his name?
Mimo?
Yeah, his is like you have to pull from the 12th fret and you just gently yank it up and you tune it. I was like,
Well, it gets rid of all of the, if there's anything stuck, any tension behind the nut.
okay. But I guess that's the center point part of the string where, like, I guess it stretches out evenly. That's what he was saying.
Oh,
So-
okay. That makes sense.
And I don't know. I usually overdo it. I think strings go sharp and out of tune. So like
Well, you know, the guitar is such a terrible instrument, but I mean, it's not. But you know, I was. So if you just listen like this chord, for instance, this note, like we tune it, like it's in tune. But then when you play like a triad, right, it'll be a little sharp.
Yeah.
So something you can do is actually push the middle finger.
Oh, more towards the next.
Yeah.
fret.
So you just squeeze this finger that way, and you intonate the chord.
Oh.
You know, so you can take each note of a chord.
Yeah, but that's like a cool chorus effect.
Right, which note are you? Right, the third. So flatten the third. So that's why we want to be able to move each finger side to side, because then we can move and just make those little fine tunings for chords, you know. But then that's just sort of intuition in your ear, like
That's next level.
which one needs to be
That's
in
a lot of
tune.
control.
But it becomes reactive, right? It's just more of like you can tell that this one's like
It's like when you hear it, your fingers automatically know what
Yeah.
to do. Yeah.
it just start to happen. So. What are we doing?
It's a technique.
Give me 1 second, sorry.
Something I don't know.
Mahalo,
was-
Ian.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please
Ian.
come back again
Anytime.
next week.
Every Thursday.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Dude,
Damn.
you're the best.
Good fun.
I just realized I don't know how to play that on the ukulele. I was just like, oh, G. I was like, oh, shit, what's the chords again?
Oh, because when you guys play that together, you're on
I
guitar.
usually just I just do the backing guitar, and then I'm like, oh, what's the first chord? Like that.
I was
So I was just on the side, like,
I almost went into that funk part.
chord.
Yeah. E minor, A7, D7,
Oh.
G, B7. It's back
I
to
played
the.
C.
Oh, and then the C is the beginning of the second part. Then it's C,
Yeah.
B7, E, A7, and then A minor for the walk.
And then
A minor, B minor,
okay.
C, major 7, D7. Oh, I love those chords. Oh, those passing notes. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the Betty, the Betty.
Is that a B impossible? Oh, this is Blackbird chord.
All right, I'm just getting silly now.